Centered. I can't. Hello? Maybe. I don't know. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie. If you're new here, hello. If you're returning, welcome back. Welcome back to me. I have not done a reading wrap-up in a hot minute. We're halfway through the year, but it's my first reading wrap-up of the year. So if you haven't figured it out yet, welcome to May reading wrap-up. I think this is one of the best reading months that I've had all year, like legitimately. I think I read 12 books this month. I had one 5-star, which I'm super excited about. Let's get right into it. I started this month with two of my most anticipated reads. One of them hit and one of them didn't. The one that unfortunately did not was Say You'll Remember Me. Whoa, take my eye out. Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I love Abby Jimenez. She is one of my favorite contemporary romance authors. I have read all of her books now. This one was not my favorite. I know a lot of people just straight up DNF'd this. This for me, let's see, what did I rated this 3 stars. Yeah, I don't think I would change that now having thought about it. I was wondering if I would. I have a hard time personally reading romance books that have real world stuff in them. And this had a lot of it. This referenced the ACOTAR books a lot. There was a lot of posting on TikTok. I'm not a big fan of real world things in books. I think I'm maybe fine with a made up version of Instagram or something. I don't necessarily love current modern day fads and stuff in books. Not that ACOTAR's a fad. I love ACOTAR. But that made me not love this. I also felt, to me, like the couple was very insta-love, which is not my favorite thing. So it just, out of all her books, I really liked them, and this is the first one that I just kind of didn't. I'm not with the people that complain about this for them being apart most of the book and being long distance. I think that that's really relatable. I have been in a very long-term, long-distance relationship before, so it wasn't necessarily that aspect of it. It was just it was just them as people, unfortunately. If you don't know anything about this book, this follows Xavier, who is a vet, and Samantha, who finds, I believe it's an injured kitten or something on the side of the road and brings it to the vet, and they meet at the vet office, and literally by the end of the vet appointment, he's asking her to go on a date. And then they are long distance in figuring that out, which that part I did like. The overall gist of the story I liked, I just didn't like the details of it, which was unfortunate. It was then my other big anticipated read that ended up being one of my first 5 stars of the year. I really have not had a lot of 5 stars this year at all. And it was Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I loved this book. I love Emily Henry, but she's kind of a 50-50 to me on how much her books resonate with me. Some of them just don't hit as much, but I still enjoy reading them. This one hit for me. I don't know what it was about this book. I cried. This book made me cry, and I have not cried over a book in the longest time. This book follows 2 reporters, and they are given the opportunity to pretty much write a memoir for this former Hollywood it girl, and they are kind of pitted against each other so she can meet them as people and figure out who she actually wants to write her story. You're following dual timelines. You're following the timeline of this older woman as she retells her life story, and then the current timeline of these 2 journalists falling in love. I love Hayden. Hayden on my mind. This book is, for me, the perfect example of banter makes everything in a book. Do I like romance in any book? Yes. Will I read a 1,000-page fantasy book just to know that 2 little, side characters vaguely like each other and that'll make it for me? Yes. I do not need smut in a book. Some people, that's their bag. I enjoy it, but it's not a need for me. This is the perfect thing of the banter got me before the smut did. The smut is not much and it's towards the end, but it hooked me. I think if you are someone that likes 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, or you've read that, that's very much the equivalent of this, of journalists going back in time reading their story. I adored this book. Genuinely. This is, I think, one of my new Emily Henry favorites. One of my first 5 stars of the years. Read this book. If you haven't already, I adore it. I then on my Kindle read Drowned in the Name of Love by, I believe it's Rut S. Diaz. This is like a pirate romantasy. I gave it 3.75. It was pretty good. I feel like the pirate romantasy isn't a genre that has been written about a lot, and I've been like actively searching out for some more. This follows Donna, who has basically been taken captive, I guess, by this kingdom. She is the daughter of like the former leader of like the rebel pirate people. When he gets killed, she's now raised by this kingdom. She is then like one night kind of her kingdom is attacked and she is stolen back by the pirates and is like put back in her pirate life out of her suffering kingdom and whatever. It is enemies to lovers, romantasy. I ate it up. I really liked it. If you like kind of a pirate thing and you're looking for one, I suggest this highly. I then read a book that's been on my TBR for a hot minute, and I'm glad I read it and I enjoyed it. I read A Fate Inked in Blood by Daniel L. Jensen. I gave this a 3.75. I think what didn't make this a little bit higher for me is sometimes the FMC would get on my nerves a little bit. Every once in a while, I felt like we were making every decision but the correct one. It was sometimes things felt a little brash. We could have thought before we acted a couple more times than what we were. But if you want banter in a romantasy book, read this. The second one is I just ordered and is coming on the way. So it is a completed duology if you're looking for something completed. This is Viking romantasy. The main character, Freya, is as a child been like claimed or blessed by one of the Viking gods. So she has powers and is forced to marry a leader of one of the like powerful Viking clans so that he can use her as a weapon. She ends up falling in love with Bjorn, who is that Viking leader's son. So good. It's enemies to lovers, it has forced proximity, it's like low-key bodyguard romance, but the world building, so great. I thought it was so unique. I've read a few other Viking like romantasies, but I think this might be one of my favorite. I genuinely enjoyed it so much. The plot twist or like cliffhanger for this at the end of the book, incredible. I'm genuinely so excited to read the second one, and this book has been sitting on my TBR shelf for like a year. This is the wonderful thing about finally reading your TBRs. Sometimes they were sitting there because your body knew you weren't going to like it, and sometimes they were sitting there and you were missing out on such an amazing thing, and that's what this was. I loved this book so much. It was incredible. Definitely go read it. I then read Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake. I 3-starred this. My thing with Olivia Blake's writing, another thing with like Emily Henry where I like her writing, but I don't always like her books. Like I was not a big fan of Atlas 6. I 3-starred this one. This book was good. I hate saying that it takes brain power because it obviously takes brain power to read any book. Definitely not like an ACOTAR or something where if you kind of skim a page, you're not that lost. This book, it takes a lot of... I'm currently peeling a price sticker off of this, if that's why I'm not making eye contact with you. But it's not a book that you can like zone out on a page and still know what's going on. It takes a lot of focus and like you gotta fucking lock in for this book. This book I've seen described, and I would agree, as like magical succession. It's another kind of like academia based book which she writes a lot. It was good. It just like it took a hot minute to read. I think I probably like was reading this book all month. Like I finished it in a month, but it took me like a month to read. I was reading a lot of books in between. It took some horsepower to get myself to get through this. But I actually picked this copy up at Indie Bookstore Day at one of my local bookstores, and it's a signed copy, which is so nice. But like for me not being a super big into Olivia Blake, I did like it. If you're somebody that likes very world-buildy, like very, you gotta know the details of your shit to understand, if you like Olivia Blake, I do think you would like it. If you're not someone that really wants to lock in to read all the time, it might not be for you. But yeah, I 3-starred it, I'd enjoyed it, it wasn't bad, it just wasn't always my jam. I wasn't like always reaching to read it. I kind of had to like force myself to read it at the end just because my brain got tired of words, which makes me sound dumb, but that's just how I felt, I guess. I don't know. I then spent quite a bit of time reading some Kindle books. I read Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. I rated this 3 stars. This was, I think, only like 250 pages. She does a lot of like Regency fairy tales. So like, think Bridgerton, 1800s, go to the ball, be the talk of the town, the marriage market, but like put magic and like fairy tale retellings into it. That's what she does. It was something that like I was reading while reading Gifted and Talented, as just like something short and simpler and like can relax my brain a little bit more and like let myself digest this book. I'm interested in reading more of her books. I think there's 4 or so of them out at the moment. I think that I'm gonna like the storylines of other ones better. The main character is Theodora. She is cursed by a fae as a child, and the fae quite literally takes half of her soul out of her body. So as she's growing up as an adult in the marriage market and stuff, she's like 26, unwed, is like considered the town crazy lady spinster because she is half her soul. So she has a hard time like socializing and empathizing with people the way normal people would. While her sister, or her cousin, I think it's her cousin, is like the diamond it girl of the season, and she is pretty much spending all of her time with her cousin, helping her go through the marriage market, where she meets, I believe it's Elias, E-L-I-A-S, I believe it's pronounced Elias. She meets Elias, who is kind of like the town doctor, and there is like a plague cursing the town. So those two link up, and she is helping him try and figure out this curse about the town. He's trying to see if he can figure out how to help her with her missing soul situation, and they fall in love. And it was very cute and very short. It was a lot of like pretty good world building for it being an under 300 page book. So if you're looking for something kind of Regency magic, if that's your jam and you want it to be quick, I suggest her books, her whole like shorter Regency setup series. It was pretty good. I then read 3 whole Kindle books in the span of 24 hours. As per my video last week, The Biggest Day in Motorsports Book Talk edition, I will tag that if you guys want to check it out. A little bit of a fun reading vlog. Put myself to the test while my partner was watching all of his motorsports things. I wanted to see how many cheesy, smutty, like F1 romance books I could read as these races were happening, and I ended up reading 3. I read 3 of the 4 of the Full Throttle series by Kay Bromberg. I will say I like the Dirty Air Lauren Asher series a little bit better, but the first one was Off the Grid. I gave this one 3.5 stars. This was the only one that I actually like ended up liking. I don't know if after the last 2 books that I wasn't a big fan of, if I like care enough to read the last book and finish the series. I don't know. It's not like high up on my list. First book, Off the Grid, I gave 3.5 stars. Spencer Riggs is taken up from F2, which is the lower series of F1. He is brought up from F2 to race on an F1 team for a driver that was injured, where he meets our main female lead, who is the daughter of the team owner, and she is being brought on to learn the ropes to eventually take over the company from her father when he retires. It is a little bit enemies to lovers. They meet beforehand and don't get along and then realize they have to work together, so it's also kind of forced proximity. But in my reading vlog, I was rating them like my overall how many out of 5 stars, and then I was doing how like accurate it is to actual F1 racing. Out of the 3 I read, this one was also the most like racing focused. The other 2 I'll get into had like nothing to do with racing, basically just the main character is a racer, but we're not going to talk about it. This was one of the only books that actually had racing in it, which I enjoy. If it's going to be an F1 romance, I want it to have F1 racing in it. This one wasn't too bad. It wasn't anything life-changing. It was still cheesy F1 romance, but I liked it better than the other 2, which were On the Edge and Over the Limit, books 2 and 3. These I both gave like a 2-star. They weren't that great. The second book, On the Edge, had a lot of miscommunication trope. This one is fake dating. Bad boy has a bad reputation. Fake dating. A girl is hired to be his fake girlfriend who's like the goody two-shoes girl, and then they fall in love. Third book is our main male character is in love with the girlfriend of his teammate. so it's like a we can't be together thing. The second book, I just felt like had a ton of miscommunication that didn't need to be here. They were also, the second and third one, also like 100 pages like shorter than the first one. So there was like no racing written into it because it was so short, and then things just kind of felt really rushed. I will say with all three of them, the endings were kind of very abrupt. I feel like there was a lot of things that like didn't actually get figured out that should have been. So that's why I'm like, I think I prefer like the Dirty Air series better, but I did read them. They were okay. I didn't hate them, I didn't DNF them, but they weren't like my favorite thing. So if you're looking for F1, go into it tentatively. I wouldn't go into it expecting it to be some crazy, cool, best thing you've ever read thing. My claw clip is falling out. I then read two very opposing books that I'm not going to get like super into. I have a video coming out next week that is going very in depth about my thoughts and feelings on these two books. I did read Silver Elite by Danny Francis. Currently, this book has a lot of thoughts and feelings toward it that I'm going to save my own opinion on for the video next week. So if you're interested in my like in-depth thoughts and feelings on this, look for this video next week. But I did read it. I have thoughts. They're not great ones, but I have thoughts. Which is also followed by my current still cover on Kindle. I did also read Shield of Sparrows. I ranted about this book for like a solid 20 minutes straight. But I read the two of these because at the current moment, Shield of Sparrows and Silver Elite are kind of the most talked about, hyped, overhyped, questionable books. Like neither one of them got a 5-star. But one of them was significantly better than the other. One of them I would have DNF'd if I wasn't already recording a video about it. But I did read those. Next week, I'll get into like my overall thoughts and feelings on them. And then last but not least, I read another book that I was very interested in. I read The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. Jessa Hastings wrote the Magnolia Parks universe that I have not finished. I've only read the first two. I haven't gotten to like any of like the Daisy Hates, any of that. This makes me a little bit more interested in going, whoa. The light cast off this book. This makes me look like God himself is like blessing my face. Hello? Look at that. That's wild. Talk about bright white pages. Holy crap. Anyways, I annotated the crap out of this book. I think I gave this 4 stars. Really hits for anyone like me that has some religious trauma. That's a big kind of talking point about this book. I will say check your trigger warnings. There is a lot of talks about like SA in this book. I love our two main characters. This is set in the South, heavy in the Bible Belt area. Main character Georgia, her father has passed away. She has to go back home for the first time and see her family, who has a lot of complicated family dynamics. She has a brother who is a recovering alcoholic. She has a sister who is straight up a narcissist. She is someone that has a lot of religious trauma going back into the Bible Belt area, dealing with a lot of past trauma from that area. And they also find out that their father has a big dark secret, not dark, but has a big secret that none of the family knew about, and they have to figure out how to work around that. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was really great. Yeah, I don't know. This book, I think, just really hit for me as being someone who grew up in the church and is no longer identifies as being in the church. Just, like, really hit. I have not, like, highlighted or annotated a book in a while. This is one of the first ones that I've done that to in a hot minute. So I really like it. I really recommend it. Again, I would check your trigger warnings for it just to be safe. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. So, want to get into my June TBR. There are a few specific books that I do really want to read. One, The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I have been thinking about that book nonstop. I'm going to pick it up in a couple of days, and I will be reading it as soon as it touches my fingers. I want to read Night and the Moth. I want to read Unproblematic Summer Romance, I believe that's what it's called. Allie Hazelwood, that just came out like yesterday, I think, as I'm recording this. I want to get that. What is it, Releasing 10 that just came out? The Boys of Tommen series. I have only read the first 2 books of that. I've only read Binding and Keeping 13. So I want to, and that was like almost probably 2 years ago. My books still have the original indie covers on them. I have I think it's Saving Six on my Kindle. I want to get back into that series. I'm like 4 books behind now. I think I have 3 books left in Harry Potter. I have never read a Harry Potter, so I thrifted a set earlier last year, I think, and I think I'm on Half-Blood Prince, whatever book that is. I want to finish or at least read the next Harry Potter book because I haven't read one in like 3 months. And then I think the only other thing that's for sure on my TBR is have to read Mistborn. That is the book for one of the book clubs that I'm in this month is reading Mistborn, which that's a book that I've wanted to read for a while now, so I'm glad that it was picked to kind of force myself to read it faster than what I have. That is my tentative TBR. I'm sure I'm going to fill it up with a lot more than what's there. I'm trying not to pressure myself and expect myself to read 12 books a month again, because that's what burnt me out and kept me off the internet for like the past 8 months, which I think it'll be a couple weeks. I have a video that I'm kind of recording at the same time of this of just where I've been, what I've been up to, so if you care at all, that'll probably be out in the next couple weeks. Yeah, like I've been aware that I haven't been here, but I'm back now. I have successfully read 12 books this month, and I think it was a pretty good month. There wasn't anything too bad, except for maybe this one, but I don't want to talk about it right now. That is my reading wrap up and my small little tentative TBR. I will see you guys next month and also next week, and hopefully back into every week, because I'm genuinely trying. I know I feel like I've said that after every single video that I post one of and then never again. I genuinely am trying to get back on to posting every week. But this has been my reading for the month, and I'm going to stop yapping now and go read some other stuff. So, I love you. Thank you guys for being here. If you want to follow me anywhere, all of my stuff is linked in the description below. I hope you guys have had a really great reading month. However and whatever you guys read this month, I'm so proud of you for doing it. Yay! Love books again. I will see you guys somewhere else on the internet, and I love you.